I arrived home for Christmas, expecting warmth and cheer, but the house was eerily silent. The only person there was Grandma, quietly eating leftover food at the kitchen table. On the table lay a note, hastily written and slightly torn, which read, "Spent your $8,500 loan on a family cruise. Take care of her." Grandma looked up at me with tired eyes and said softly, "We'll fix this." For a moment, I just nodded, stunned. Days earlier, I had shown up unannounced at my parents' house, the place I had practically helped pay for, expecting to celebrate Christmas as I always had. But instead of the familiar festive atmosphere, I was met with cold silence. The Christmas tree twinkled faintly, its cheap plastic star blinking weakly, almost as if apologizing. There were no scents of cinnamon or burnt cookies in the air, no laughter or wrapping paper rustling, only the faint sound of a fork tapping against a plate. "Hello," I called out cautiously, stepping inside. "In here, sweetheart," came a soft, weary voice from the kitchen. Turning the corner, I saw Grandma sitting alone. She wore her purple knitted sweater, and in front of her lay a plate with cold stuffing and half-eaten ham. I blinked, searching for the rest of the family. There was no answer. Instead, she gave me a sad, toothless smile and pushed a folded note across the table. Her hands trembled slightly as I unfolded it. It wasn't even in an envelope, just a ripped piece of notebook paper. The note was addressed to me. It said, "Spent your $8,500 loan on a family cruise. Sorry. Take care of Grandma while we're gone. Love, Mom." I stared in disbelief. The words barely registered at first. Loan and cruise. That money wasn't a gift. It was the loan I had painstakingly saved for over a year, meant to pay for my dental surgery. Grandma watched me carefully, like a soldier scanning a minefield, silent and tense. I guess they thought you wouldn't mind," she whispered, folding a napkin. "They left yesterday." I sank into the cold chair, numb. No warning. No call. Just taken. The money and their departure. Leaving me behind. "You know," Grandma said with a dry laugh, "they only call when they want something." I nodded slowly, fists clenched under the table. This wasn't new. It was just louder now. She sipped her orange juice, looked me straight in the eyes, and said with quiet determination, "We'll fix this." I said nothing, but inside, something cracked. A bitterness, cold and sharp, began to grow. That night, Grandma went to bed early, claiming her hips hurt and she was tired. She kissed my cheek, patted my arm, and whispered, "You've always been the only one who stayed kind." Then she shuffled away with her familiar limp, the one from the fall down the stairs 2 winters ago that no one had ever taken her to rehab for. I sat alone for hours, no TV, no lights, just the weight of that note. My money. The $8,500 I had earned working nights, weekends, holidays, driving Uber, freelancing, skipping meals, and losing sleep. Gone. I opened the family group chat on my phone. Silence. Not even a single "Merry Christmas." The last message from Mom was from November. "Don't forget to transfer the loan to Dad's account. We need to book before prices jump." They never called it a gift, because deep down, they knew it wasn't. I remembered Mom's voice when she first pitched the idea. "It's just a short-term loan. We'll pay you back by February, latest. You can always reschedule your dental thing." I nodded, as I always did, when they needed money for Jacob's school fees, when Dad's gambling debts piled up, when Kelly needed rent after quitting her job because her boss was mean. I always nodded. Because if I didn't, I was selfish, unhelpful, ungrateful. Because family comes first. After everything. Even after they kicked me out at 17 for refusing to lie for Jacob when he stole Grandma's painkillers. After they didn't show up at my college graduation, too busy helping Emily move in with her boyfriend. After they forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. But when it came to money, suddenly I was family again. The next morning, I did some digging. They weren't just on any cruise. They were sailing on the majestic Aurora. A luxurious 10-day Caribbean voyage with a private deck, butler service, an infinity pool, and gourmet meals. The trip cost around $3,000 per person, and there were 4 of them. I knew this because Emily had posted photos on Instagram, photos she forgot to block me from seeing. There they were, all 4 of them clinking champagne glasses in the bathroom, smiling. The caption read, Finally some peace away from all the leeches and negativity. Leeches, I laughed bitterly. They used my money, abandoned Grandma with leftovers, and called me a leech. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was focused. That evening, Grandma found me in the garage, hunched over Dad's old filing cabinet surrounded by piles of paper bills and old records. She didn't say a word, just watched as I flipped through decades of lies. I need to know everything, I told her. Where the money went, what they did, who's involved. She sat beside me, pulled out a faded notebook, and began flipping through the pages. Let's start with 2016, she said. By midnight, we had uncovered numbers. By the next day, a plan. When they rolled up to the driveway, they looked like royalty, the same people who had left Grandma and me with a note and spoiled leftovers, now returning home like heroes after war. Emily was first, dragging a designer suitcase, hair braided with ribbons, nails freshly manicured. Ugh, I'm so glad to be back, she said. That last dinner on the ship gave me hives. Behind her came Mom, sweeping in with the elegance of a soap opera villain. Sunglasses on indoors. Did you even clean up a little? She snapped, stepping over Grandma's shawl as if it were trash. Dad followed, red-faced and bloated from cruise buffets. He grunted upon seeing me. Oh, you're still here. Jacob was last, ignoring Grandma entirely as he dumped his bags on the couch and collapsed into it. I didn't say a word. Calm, composed, sitting at the table, hands folded, ready. Where's the food? Mom asked, surveying the kitchen like she owned the place. In the fridge, I replied. Still plenty of the ham you left. Jacob snorted, muttering, Dude, just order takeout. It's not like you're broke. I stood slowly. Glad you're all here. Sit down. I've got something to show you. Jacob rolled his eyes but slumped into a chair. Dad cracked his knuckles. Emily was too busy looking for an outlet to charge her phone. I turned the laptop toward them and clicked play. The first file was a spreadsheet, not just any spreadsheet, but a detailed financial audit. I had spent 4 days building it with Grandma's help. It tracked every dollar transferred out of her pension account, every ATM withdrawal made at gas stations Dad frequented, and every payment Emily requested for emergencies that turned out to be charges at Sephora and Apple. Where did you get this? Mom asked, her voice suddenly tight with fear. I smiled coldly. You should be more careful when using someone else's password. The second video showed screenshots of Venmo transactions, account logins from Mom's devices, pinched access points, and emails between Mom and Emily. Mom wrote, He won't notice the cruise deposit missing. He trusts us too much. Emily replied, He's a softie. Plus, who leaves Grandma alone on Christmas anyway? My jaw clenched, but I kept going. I could stop here, I said, but I won't. One more file. A voice recording of Kelly, Jacob's wife, standing on our porch 2 nights ago, sobbing. I didn't want to go, she said. I begged him, but Jacob said if you didn't give the money, they'd just leave her and deal with it later. I only stayed quiet because he said it'd all blow over. I'm sorry. Jacob jumped up. You recorded my wife? That's illegal. No, I said. She asked me to. She's tired of lying for you. Tired of watching you bleed people dry. Dad stood, face red with rage. You little snake. You've been digging into our accounts like someone who's done being robbed. I opened one last tab, a pre-written email, addressed to the Social Security Fraud Division, Grandma's attorney, the county ombudsman, and 2 local news outlets. Subject line, Formal report of elder financial abuse. Evidence attached. I told them, you've got 48 hours to pay back every single penny, or I'm sending everything out there. Emily's hands were shaking. You're bluffing. You'd never mess up your own family. No, I said. You guys messed yourselves up. I'm just sending the bill. Grandma, who hadn't said a word, slowly stood up. She walked to the head of the table, put her hand on a chair, and said, I raised 3 of you. I fed you, cared for you, protected you. And when I couldn't even walk, you left me with frozen beans and moldy pie while you were drinking champagne bought with stolen money. You're lucky he's the one coming after you. If it were me, it'd be worse. The room went silent. Dad muttered something and stormed out. Emily started crying and tried to hug Grandma, but Grandma turned away. Jacob just stared at me coldly. "You're not family anymore." I smiled. "No, I'm finally free." They thought I was bluffing, even after I dropped that email with all the proof. Even after Grandma stared them down with that fierce, quiet anger. They believed they could still control me, wear me down. But that version of me, the quiet one who said, "Thanks for the crumbs," died the day they blew $8,500 of my savings on piña coladas and cruises. The first day was silent. No messages, no apologies. Just Grandma and me, sitting in the quiet house eating microwave oatmeal and checking the bank account. Nothing. On day 2, I sent everything. Screenshots, recordings, files. To the state and CC'd every local news desk. At 6:13 p.m., I got a reply, "Thank you for your submission. A case has been opened." Day 3. It blew up. Jacob panicked first. I woke up to 12 missed calls and texts begging, "We didn't mean it like that," or, "You're seriously gonna ruin your family over money?" Mom tried her usual, "You're emotional. Take it down, we'll talk." I didn't respond. I forwarded every message to my lawyer, Natalie, who reviewed everything like a surgeon. She'd worked with Grandma's legal team since I pressed record on Kelly's confession. By noon, Natalie sent official letters to my parents, Jacob and Emily. Intent to sue. Charges: elder financial abuse, unauthorized use of retirement accounts, misusing family loans. Total owed, $14,322. That night, Mom showed up, looking exhausted, no makeup, hair all messy. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Only if you brought a checkbook." She pulled out an envelope with a cashier's check for $8,500. My loan. "No interest?" I asked. "You're lucky to get this," she snapped. "We're being destroyed because of you. You're turning your back on your own mother." "No," I said, stepping outside and slamming the door. "I'm turning my back on a thief." Later that week, Emily called from work, crying. The story had gone viral. Family steals disabled Grandma's pension, abandons her at Christmas. Grandson fights back. It got $4,200 shares overnight. Emily's company didn't like the attention. Her name was everywhere, and her nasty messages became a meme. "I'm getting fired," she screamed. "Return the favor," I said. "Pay your share." She did, in 4 payments, and I made her prove it every time. No shortcuts. Jacob was last. At first, he acted untouchable. Bragged on social media his boss didn't care, said it was all fake. Then Kelly left him. She filed for separation, refusing to let their kids grow up where lying and stealing were normal. She called me, whispering, "Sorry it took so long, but I see who he really is now." I asked if she needed help finding a place. She paused, then said, "Only if it comes with no strings attached." I smiled and said, "Yes, because you did the right thing." 2 days later, Jacob showed up at my door, tired and furious. "You're a fool," he hissed. "You ruined everything." "No," I said, handing him a legal letter. "You did." Natalie had just filed to garnish his wages. He tried to tear up the letter, but I didn't flinch. "Pay every penny, or we freeze your accounts." "I'm not bluffing." By the end of week 2, all the money was back. $8,500 from Mom and Dad, $3,100 from Emily, with interest, $2,700 from Jacob after a loan from his boss. Total $14,300 and some change. I used $3,000 for my dental surgery, $2,000 to get Grandma a proper lift chair and a nurse, and the rest went into a locked interest-bearing account in Grandma's name. Only she and I could access it. When I showed Grandma the papers, she cried. "They took everything from me," she whispered, "but they didn't take you." And just like that, I won, not just the money or the legal battle, but myself. The guilt, the shame of feeling unloved, all fell away. I stood taller than I had in years. They stopped calling. And you know what? That silence had a pulse. For the first time, it felt like freedom. Not the heavy silence of guilt or shame, but a clean, surgical quiet that comes when you finally cut out something rotten. The money was back. The house was peaceful. Grandma finally slept through the night without fear. And me? I was becoming someone they couldn't control. After everything blew up, I didn't just get my money. I got my life back. Quit the draining job, took a remote contract that paid better and gave me more time. Took Grandma to her favorite diner with the dusty checkerboard floors and the worst coffee in the state. She laughed more in 1 hour than I'd seen in 5 years. I miss this, she said, dipping fries in her milkshake. You mean your arteries miss this, I teased. She shrugged. I'd rather die laughing with you than choking on cruise shrimp with those snakes. Fair enough. But peace has ghosts. They stopped calling, but they talked. Emily posted on Facebook about forgiveness with a church candle photo. Mom told relatives I'd manipulated Grandma, leaving out she'd used Grandma's pension to pay off plastic surgery. Jacob went full delusional, posting about toxic siblings with clips from Succession, acting like he was the betrayed heir of some broken empire. I laughed for 10 minutes straight. Rise with you. You tried to burn me alive and dance on the ashes. They wanted to rewrite the story, but I had the receipts. I wasn't going back into the shadows. The real turning point came 3 weeks later at the grocery store, pushing Grandma's cart full of soup and ginger ale, when an older, elegant woman approached us. She looked right at me and said, "I'm sorry. Are you the one from the article?" I tensed up. She smiled gently. "You're the one who saved his grandma, right?" I blinked. "I guess so." She looked at Grandma, then back at me. "I just wanted to say thank you. For standing up. For not staying silent. My mom went through the same thing, but no one ever fought for her. I wish someone had." She touched my arm softly and walked away. I turned to Grandma. She was frozen, hand on a soup can, tears filling her eyes. "I didn't think anyone saw us," she whispered. "They do now," I said. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about money or revenge or proving I wasn't a failure. It was about speaking the truth out loud. The best part? I was done explaining myself. No more screaming. The truth was out there, dragging their names through the mud every time they posted online. Every lie they told, someone called them out in the comments. Mom tried to fix her image. She started a cooking channel on YouTube. Cozy Kitchen with Carla. But in the first episode, someone wrote, "Did you pay for that oven with stolen retirement funds?" She deleted the channel 2 days later. Jacob tried to get a new job but didn't get past the background check. The wage garnishment scared the company off. Oops. Emily disappeared for a while, then popped back up with a new Instagram handle, At My Life Reset. She posted yoga pics and inspirational quotes, talking about cutting out toxic people. Which was hilarious, since I hadn't cut her out. I'd exiled her. Months passed. I moved into a new apartment. Quiet, clean, filled with second-hand furniture. This time, I chose everything. Nothing was picked by them, nothing touched by them. I brought Grandma with me. She had her own bedroom, decorated with old photos and a blanket she'd crocheted back in 1993. She called it the fort. One evening, she knocked on my door and sat on the bed slowly. "I have a question," she said. "When you saw that note they left, why didn't you just leave? Why did you stay?" I thought for a moment. Because I remembered who I was before they made me forget. She looked at me for a long time, then nodded. "I'm proud of you, sweetheart." That broke me more than any insult they'd ever thrown. Because she meant it. No one else in that family ever did. Weeks later, I ran into Kelly outside a coffee shop. She looked healthier, lighter, happier. She told me she was taking night classes, working toward a certification, trying to build something for herself. "I didn't know I could live like this," she said, "without being afraid of what he'd do next. You gave me that." I didn't know what to say. She stepped closer. "You changed more than just your own life, you know." I nodded quietly, and maybe for the first time, I believed it. So here's my ending. Want to know what happened to that family? They destroyed their own name trying to bury mine. Want to know what happened to me? I stopped waiting for them to call me family, and started building one with people who never made me beg for love. And now, I sleep peacefully with all the lights off because I'm no longer afraid of what they might take next. They already took everything, and I took it back.